this week's episode of One Piece, Luffy and Law continue their epic quest to kick Doflamingo's ass. In this week's episode, they're gonna get some help from Bobby and Kelly Funk, the Funk Brothers. Meanwhile, Nico Robin, Bartolomeo, and Rebecca are gonna fly through the skies with beetles with big smiles. Not only that, but Zoro and Frankie bring some manliness to the party. So safe to say, a lot of important things went down in this week's episode, which had some really good animation and some pretty good artwork for the most part. So let's just talk about some of the highlights. First and foremost, let's talk about that beetle scene, which is just ridiculous and the type of thing that could only be pulled off in an anime series, or in this case, One Piece, which basically just wrote the book on weirdness. I especially love the fact that these gold beetles have popo lips. The scene itself is also unneedlessly fan servicey. I mean, there's a lot of great aerial shots of Nico Robin's, you know. But don't worry, ladies, you're gonna get some fan service too, in the form of a close-up shot of Frankie's crotch. Frankie and Senor Pink continue to battle, but really this is just foreplay. Their battle really hasn't even begun. Really, it's just an excuse to laugh more at Senor Pink, who's absolutely hilarious. Hard-boiled, bitches! Zoro and Pika's battle also continues to intensify, but just like Frankie and Senor Pink, they really haven't even started yet. Really, it's just an appetizer to the badassery that is to come. The biggest thing to take away from this week's episode is that Bobby and Kelly Funk are douchebags. They basically have sold out Luffy to Doflamingo, and Doflamingo ends up killing them in this week's episode when he leads them into this underground tunnel filled with water, and it all ends with Doflamingo creepily walking down the hallway, getting ready to take on Law and Luffy. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? I wish the entire series could have this production value. That's not to say that this episode was amazing in any sense of the word, but it was very nice and clean and consistent, and I really actually liked that scene when they were jumping around the city with the beetles. It looked really nice, all the aerial shots, not to mention all that Robin fan service. Aside from the final scene at the end of this week's episode with Doflamingo, which is just tension-filled beyond belief, my favorite thing about this week's episode really are the action scenes with Frankie and with Zoro. I just love the fact that they have opponents which truly reflect them in almost every single way, and almost to the extremes of their actual personalities. I think that's pretty great. The animation between Zoro and Pika was also pretty cool, and is basically just a teaser to what we're eventually going to see. Same thing with Frankie and Senor Pink. Frankly, the battle between Frankie and Senor Pink is one that I'm really looking forward to see, almost more than any other battle. That's probably been one of my favorite fights in the entire Dressrosa arc, so I really hope they can do it justice. But there's still a lot of really big, interesting developments they haven't even gotten to quite yet. Otherwise, this was a pretty decent episode of One Piece, which had some action, it had some laughs, some interesting developments, and it ended on another classic to-be-continued screen, getting us all to watch next week's episode. I'm really excited to see where all of this is going, and I thought this was a pretty nice episode right here. We got some cool developments, animation and artwork was pretty consistent, and I still love the new intro. The more I hear it, the more I love it. It's really just stuck in my head, and I can't get it out. So One Piece fans, check out this week's episode. It's pretty awesome. It ends on a great cliffhanger. I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Check it out. You might see something you like. Thank you for watching my review. Before you guys leave, make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode of One Piece. Did you have a favorite scene, a favorite fight scene? What do you hope to see from the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Do you think that Luffy and Law are now screwed now that they're trapped in Doflamingo's Tunnel of Doom? Make sure to tell me in the comments section below. You can also subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews, and I am reviewing a lot of anime this season. Just to name a few, there's Seraph of the End, there's Blood Blockade Battlefront, there's the Heroic Legend of Arslan, and we haven't even gotten to Ninja Slayer yet. That is next week, guys, and that is definitely my most anticipated show of this season. So make sure to check those out, support the videos. Remember, one of the best ways to help out our videos is to simply just hit that like button. I cannot stress how much that actually helps out our videos. It allows more people to see them and give them more exposure. So remember to subscribe. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.